So we're going to begin our practice today in a seated position. So I'll recommend you place something under your hips just to lift them up a little bit, whether it's a pillow or even just a rolled up blanket. So the hips are just slightly above the knees. And then just beginning to close down the eyes as long as that feels safe and comfortable for you. And allowing ourselves to connect in with our breath. As we settle into our practice and into our mats here this evening, let's allow ourselves that opportunity to be fully present in our practice here tonight. I'll remind you once again to just let go of what a home practice will look like, especially if you're used to practicing in studio. And if you have other people or maybe some fur roommates, some pets in your house, just kind of let go of expectation, what you think your time should look like, and just allow it to be as it is. And know that you're still going to receive the benefits of the practice. And see if you can just allow yourself to still drop into the shapes, into the postures, even if there are some distractions, just allowing them to be. Begin to draw that breath in a little bit deeper. And then moving to a nice cleansing exhale as we gently sigh that breath out through the mouth. Inhaling. And exhaling, sighing it all out. One more here. And exhale out. Then moving towards our alternate nostril breath. If this is part of your practice, just head right into it. If it's new for you, you can follow along with me. So this breath is meant to bring more alignment to our breathing physically, but also more alignment to our bodies and our energy, just our entire being, to find a little bit more alignment. So we're going to take the thumb and the ring finger. With the thumb, we'll block one side of the nose. Take a deep breath in. And then blocking the other, breath out. Deep breath in. Blocking, deep breath out. Maybe taking the two peace fingers, resting right over that third eye or our sixth chakra. Just continuing to alternate the breath back and forth. So an exhale and then an inhale on one side. And then switching. Just noticing how the breath is feeling from side to side. Good. And we'll finish with an exhale on the side we started on. And then gently just allowing the hands to fall to the lap. Big deep breath in. And out through the nose. Just noticing if that breath is maybe flowing a little bit easier. Good. And just taking a moment to ask yourself what it is you're hoping to get out of your practice tonight. I'm going to be working with alignment for myself, but if there's something else you're wanting from your practice, whether it's calm or peace or space, just to relax. Maybe it's to let go, invite in, whatever that is for you. Just take a moment to create that intention. Making a little statement for yourself, maybe using I am. So I will be using I am aligned and balanced. You And choose whatever feels good for you here tonight. And then gently releasing whatever it is that's tucked under those sits bones. We're going to draw the soles of the feet together. So we won't worry about how far those heels are from the body. Just kind of allow the body to rest where it is. And if we're not feeling supported in our low back here, then let's just grab that support again, or even a little bit less support, tucking under the hips. So we're feeling really stable and secure in that low back. You also maybe choose to tuck blocks or pillows or something out of under the outer edges of those knees, just to feel a little bit more supported here. As we inhale, let's open up through the chest. And as we exhale, we're going to tuck that tailbone as we round through, even maybe rocking back to the sits bones here, tucking that chin. Inhale to open. And exhale to round. One more. And then just returning to find a nice neutral spine. We're going to settle in for a couple minutes here. If that movement felt really good for you, you may choose just to continue with that gentle movement connected with breath. We can stay upright here, maybe reaching back if we're wanting to open a little bit more through the heart, or also optional to begin to hinge forward, walking those fingertips out away from us and maybe bowing down into a fold. So wherever you're choosing to be, just remember in our yin practice, we don't need to dive or jump right into our maximum expression of our pose. Just want to move into the shape until we begin to feel a little bit of sensation, a little bit of gentle pull. And then we're going to allow ourselves to sit with that. We're going to let our breath and time and gravity draw us deeper into the shape, as opposed to forcing ourselves there. We're going to trust the process. We're going to surrender that control. And we can redirect ourselves to the breath as often as we need. If we're feeling that the mind is distracted with thoughts or worries, just returning to that breath as often as you need. Also revisiting that intention or mantra you've created as many times as you'd like throughout the practice. Really allowing it to sink in. Just taking a moment to notice if we're maybe clenching or holding tension unnecessarily anywhere in the body. Sometimes we'll be gripping through the toes or the soles of the feet. Maybe through the hips, the pelvis, the abdomen. Also through the shoulders. So even if we're resting to the shoulders, we can still think about having them down and back. So we're open through that chest. Nice and relaxed through the throat, and through the jaw, through the face. And one more big deep breath. Releasing. Good. We're going to support ourselves out of this shape and taking our time as we've taken time to land into the posture. We're also going to be patient on the way out. So supporting to the outer edges of the knees. Let's begin to draw those knees back towards one another. Maybe finding a little bit of gentle rocking here, maybe choosing to stretch those legs out nice and long. Just kind of take notice of what's happening for you in your hips, in your body. We're not judging, but just observing. And also accepting our bodies as they are. And then beginning to move into some gentle rotation here. We're going to draw that right knee in nice and close. Hugging that knee into our chest. If we're getting a lot of sensation here, we maybe just want to stay here. Otherwise, we can begin to open up. So we'll stay nice and tall through the spine as we begin to rotate from the base all the way up. I often like to take a prop under that back hand just to lift the floor up a little bit so you feel really nice and supported. If you're wanting a little bit more sensation, optional to cross that right leg over and maybe even tuck that left leg in. So just choosing any variation that feels good for you. We want to make sure we're staying really tall through the spine and we're not forcing that rotation. With each inhale, we can think about growing up tall through the spine, lengthening through the crown of the head. And then as we exhale, sinking a little bit deeper into that rotation. I think about the breath moving up and down the length of the spine, helping us and allowing us to release and let go of any heaviness, anything feeling sticky. Really connected with breath. If the mind's wandering, it's okay. Don't get frustrated or judge yourself. Just take a moment to remind yourself that you're human. And then bring yourself back to the breath, back to the body. Holding grace for ourselves on our mats and off our mats. Knowing that we don't need to have it all figured out. Allowing ourselves to be human, to learn as we go, to grow and evolve each day and with each and every lesson that's handed to us or gifted to us. Knowing that sometimes the greatest of gifts come in less than attractive packaging. We just got to open ourselves up to what that can look like. One more big breath here. And then inhaling, let's slowly unravel, staying nice and tall through the spine. If you've chosen to tuck that leg, let's slide it straight. And supporting that right leg back down, stretching out long. Giving a little bit of a wiggle, a little bit of a shake here. And then just taking a moment to root in and just witnessing, observing what's happening in the body from side to side. And then as we're ready, let's begin to head into that second side. So drawing that left knee in towards our chest. So optional to just stay right here if you're getting a lot of sensation, or if this just feels like where your body wants to be. Optional to cross over. I'll encourage you to choose a similar expression from side to side as we lengthen up through the crown and then open up to find that rotation. So again, I like to use something behind me just to lift the floor up. That helps to keep that nice tall spine. You're really connected in with the breath. Without any judgment, just noticing the difference from the first side to the second side. Does it feel the same or similar, or are you experiencing more sensation or sensation in maybe a different part of the body? Just know that whatever's happening in your body today, it's okay. We want to avoid any pain or discomfort in our shapes. So if we're feeling pain at all, we can just unravel a little bit or soften through the shape. Or if you need to come out early, please do. Just a reminder that I'm here to guide you, but it's your practice on your mat. So just choose what your body, mind, and heart are needing here this evening. Remembering to stay nice and tall through the spine. With each exhale, maybe falling a little deeper into that rotation, but we're not forcing. One more breath. And slowly unraveling. Hi. Good, and then sliding both legs out long. Miss Shadow decided to come and co-teach class tonight. And just once again, finding a little bit of movement. And it's taking a moment to settle into that stillness as you observe what's happening from side to side. We'll begin to shift those feet over one direction as we invite ourselves to find a hands and knees position here. Spreading those hands nice and wide. Our knees are underneath the hips. Wrists under elbows, under shoulders. Just beginning to move through some of that cat-cow once again. So inhale, we'll drop the belly as we lengthen up through the front body. And then exhaling, we'll tuck that tailbone, rounding through. Just continuing to move with your breath. Continuing with front to back, or maybe starting to shift a little side to side. Just allowing the body to move how it would like. And then returning to that tabletop position, we'll begin to sit back to the heels. So we're going to be taking our rock pose here. If you would prefer child's pose, you can walk those knees a little wider. And then either stacking palms and resting forehead or reaching those arms alongside the body. We want to make sure we feel supported in the neck. So if we feel like the head's hovering a little bit, then use those pillows, blanket, towel, whatever you have to prop under the head. Allowing ourselves to round through that spine. As we let the hips get heavy and sink back towards the heels. It's like we're giving ourselves a giant, loving hug. This pose can feel very comforting for many when you're feeling overwhelmed, like everything's spiraling out of control. Just allowing ourselves to pause, hug our bodies, and go within. Really allowing the shoulders to feel heavy here as they sink down towards the mat space. Maybe even tucking the chin slightly. Let's find 3 more big, deep, comforting breaths. If you'd like to stay here longer, please do. Otherwise, we're going to begin to draw ourselves back to hands and knees, moving nice and slow. Finding stillness here, maybe finding some gentle movement once again. And then as you feel ready, you can start to invite yourself down to your belly. So walking those hands out slightly in front, we can rock that weight forward and lower nice and controlled. As we arrive, we're going to stack one palm on top of the other, resting our forehead here. Releasing the tops of the feet to the mat space or the floor and allowing the pelvis to feel really heavy down into the mat as we think about gently lengthening up through the front of the body. So maybe choosing to stay here in this really gentle heart opener, this really gentle back bend. If you're wanting a little more, we can start to root into those forearms. Again, really thinking about rooting into the tops of the feet and the pelvis as we lengthen up through the front of the body. We shouldn't feel any pinching or discomfort through the spine, and if we do, we're just going to ease out a little bit. And connecting in with that breath. Allowing ourselves to soften, surrender, to lean in. Seeing if we can catch ourselves before we react in any way. Moving gently with our bodies and our minds. If we're feeling resistance or distraction, then just gently redirecting ourselves. Let's find 6 more big, deep breaths here. And our next exhale, let's slowly release back down. If we're in that Sphinx position, stacking palms and resting our forehead here. Maybe gently rocking the head from side to side. Maybe bending at the knees, so stacking the ankles over the knees and rocking those feet from side to side. Guiding those hands under the shoulders, let's press ourselves back up to find that tabletop position. So we prepare to head into our half frog pose. So we can get there either through this 4-point kneeling shape or our downward facing dog. As we lift that right knee and guiding it up towards that right wrist. And then allowing ourselves to melt down to the mat space. So we want that hip and knee and ankle at about 90 degrees here in our half frog. And that left leg's going to be stretching out long on the mat. But know that you can play around with those angles to make sure this position feels safe for you. And if you're caring for knees at all, then I would recommend just tucking something under the knee, whether it's just a part of a blanket or towel or whichever feels good. And then we'll turn our gaze out over towards the right side, either stacking palms and resting our cheek, or maybe beginning to find cactus arms, those elbows bent 90 degrees, and the gaze out towards the right side. So here we're going to think about allowing gravity to pull the front of that right hip down towards the mat space with each breath. Really softening through the pelvis, through the hips and the low back. Knowing that as you're here, if you're wanting a little more sensation, if the sensation starts to lessen a little bit, you can draw that knee up a little bit further. But again, being gentle, not forcing anything. And remembering that our practice on our mats translates over to how we live our lives. So patience and grace on our mats opens us up to more patience and grace off of our mats. Know that if you're feeling a little bit tense or a little bit anxious tonight, it's okay. A lot of uncertainty floating around that can create a lot of heaviness. So use our time on our mats as that opportunity to let go of some of that heaviness. To learn to trust the uncertainty. Knowing that the only certainty in life is change. The only thing we can guarantee will happen is change. Sometimes it's gradual change and sometimes it's rapid. Let's find one more breath here. There's a couple ways to exit out of this shape. We could either just slide that right leg back to meet the left, or we could press ourselves back up through that 4-point kneeling or down dog. Just taking a moment to notice how it is that you're feeling, finding any movement that you're needing, any stillness that you're needing. Just bringing awareness to what the right hip is doing, what the left hip is doing. And then we'll prepare to head into that second side. So same thing, getting there either through our 4-point kneeling or our down dog. So we pull that left knee in, lowering ourselves down to our bellies. And release that right foot long. And either stacking palms and resting that right cheek here, we can find those cactus arms. Knowing we can always tuck a little pillow or blanket or something under the head if we want to choose cactus arms but aren't feeling quite supported in our neck there. And just allowing ourselves to soften here. Embracing the stillness and the pause. Softening as much as we can, only holding that tension that you need to keep the body safe, and letting the rest just melt away. Wash away. I truly believe what the world needs now is the best of all of us. So here on our mats and in our lives, let's give ourselves that permission to let go of that fear, of that heaviness, to turn into that space inside of our hearts and choose love. Love for ourselves. Love for others, love for our community, for our country, for our earth, for the world. Just letting go of the fear. Choosing love. And doing this as many times as you need. Letting go. Shifting perspective as a practice. And know that if we choose fear, it's okay, but just recognize it. And then choose again. Choose love. One more breath. So we get ready to shift out. Optional to just begin to slide that left leg long to meet the right. Or maybe pressing ourselves back to tabletop, or maybe our down dog. It's taking a moment to find movement, to find stillness, whatever it is that you're needing here in this moment. Letting your body lead you and guide you. As we're ready, we're going to come back down to our bellies if you're not there already. Supporting yourself down nice and slow. We're going to stretch that right arm out long away from you. If you don't have a lot of space here, you can always bend at the elbow. And then we'll begin to press into that left hand as we roll to the side body. Optional to bend that left leg, almost creating like a little bit of a kickstand here. And I want you to feel really supported under the neck. So you can either rest that left hand there or just tuck some sort of prop. We're beginning to feel a stretch through the front of that right shoulder. Being gentle here, we're not forcing this. And slowly just surrendering to that breath. We're here for 5 more breaths. Slowly, gradually beginning to roll back to the belly. Staying here, maybe pressing back, tabletop, down dog, child's pose. Whatever it is that you're needing, and then we'll prepare for that second side. Returning to our bellies, let's stretch that left arm out away from us as we begin to roll to the side body. So again, we want to feel really supported here under the head. So just tucking any prop we need. Maybe using that top leg, almost like a little kickstand to help us balance. Or maybe even just bending the knee, resting it to the mat space. But we're not going to force this shape. Our shoulders in a really vulnerable position here, so we don't want to compromise that joint in any way. If you've practiced with me before, you've probably heard me say that in our Yin practice, less is more. So by easing gently into the shape and being patient, we'll get further and deeper into our bodies than we would by forcing that shape. As we open up space through our bodies, inevitably we're also opening space through the mind, through the heart. So releasing and letting go of stress and tension and anxiety in our physical bodies can also allow us to let go the stress and tension, anxiety in the mind. That stress and tension, anxiety that we're carrying in our hearts. One more breath here. And slowly unraveling back to the belly. So staying here, maybe pressing back to 4-point kneeling or down dog or child's pose. And as we're ready, we can slowly begin to make our way through seated. And then inviting ourselves all the way down. The arms alongside the body, or even reaching those arms all the way up overhead. Then bringing those arms back alongside the body. Let's slide those heels up the mat. Under the knees, about hip width apart. So we prepare for a gentle twist here. So we can lift those hips. Let's send them slightly over to the right. And then picking those knees up. You can allow them to fall over to the left. We want to stay nice and rooted through both shoulders here. So maybe stretching that right arm out away from you just to kind of anchor that right shoulder in place. And then we want to feel really supported in the legs here. So if you feel like that top leg's dangling a little bit, or that even that bottom one is hovering, then just taking a pillow or blanket or whatever and just tucking that in. Back to my favorite saying in Yin, that less is more. Knowing that sometimes using a prop will actually allow us to create more space. And if we just leave the body hovering, it'll be constantly trying to protect us and keep us safe, and won't give us that same capacity to let go and surrender into the full potential of the pose. So optional to gently shift that gaze out over that right shoulder, only if that feels okay for you and your neck. Really thinking about sending the breath up and down the length of the spine. Let's find about 3 more breaths here. So you can even soften and release a little bit further, a little bit deeper. And then using that breath as we inhale ourselves back to midline. Square those hips back off and just take a moment to notice what's happening for you right now. And as we're ready, gently shifting those hips over to the left, allowing those knees to fall over to the right. So we're staying really rooted through both shoulders, maybe stretching that left arm out away from us. And then once again, we can just use any props here so we feel really, really supported. The body should feel safe and held in our yin shapes. Just really letting the body sink down into the floor, into the mat space. Find just a couple more breaths here. And slowly rolling back to our backs. Release any props that you have here. Just finding stillness or maybe some gentle movement. As we're ready, we can start to draw those knees in towards the chest, giving ourselves a hug here. Either holding behind the knees or the front of the shins, whatever feels good for you. Finding stillness or finding some gentle movement, maybe rocking side to side, little circles. It's optional if you'd like to stay here, or maybe like to move into happy baby, reaching up either for the inside of the big toes or the inside edge or outside edge of those feet. Really thinking about drawing the knees down to the mat space. So again, finding stillness here, finding gentle movement, maybe stretching one leg long, then the other. Also optional just to find a legs up position. If you're somewhere close to a wall, you maybe even want to make your way over to the wall so you can feel supported here. Otherwise, we can just press those heels up as though we're trying to stand on the ceiling. And if we want to feel a little more supported here, maybe just tucking some sort of prop under the hips. Can make this shape a little bit more passive, whether that's a blanket, pillow, or block. And just really connecting with the breath here wherever you are, if that's knees to chest, happy baby, or legs up. Maybe even pedaling those feet a little bit, rolling out through the ankles. We're going to be here about 10 more breaths. Those legs are extended, long, beginning to slowly release the heels back down. And then releasing those feet down to the mat space. If we've tucked a prop, just gently sliding it out of the way. And then as you're ready in your own time, just beginning to make your way into your final resting position. So you can choose that traditional Shavasana with the legs stretched out long, the arms rest alongside the body, or choosing any other position that feels comfortable for you. This is your time to drop into that stillness. Absorb the benefits of your yoga practice here this evening. Just really allowing the body to rest heavy into the surface. Allowing yourself to rest fully and completely. Letting go of the idea that you should be anywhere else but here, resting on your mat in your practice. Each breath allowing the heaviness just to release, melt away. Allowing the body to rest down a little bit further, a little bit deeper. Fully present on your mat, not worrying about Any distractions around you or any distractions in the mind. Just allowing yourself to be present in this moment, in this stillness. If you'd like to remain here a little bit longer, then please do. But if you're ready, gently beginning to invite movements back into the fingers, maybe into the toes, wiggling softly and gently. And slowly rocking the head from side to side. And then beginning to make your way over to your side body. Pausing there as long as you need. And only as you're ready, returning back to find seated here on your mat. Rooting through the sits bones and growing tall up through the crown. Let's take a moment just to revisit that intention or that mantra you created at the beginning of class. Just taking a moment now to repeat that to yourself. Taking that with you off of your mat. Also take a moment just to thank yourself. Thank yourself for being here and for showing up in your practice. For doing something to nourish your body and your mind and your heart. Thank you so much for joining me. Let's connect those palms as we draw them up to find the center of our heart. The love and light and magic that lives within me sees and honors the love and light and magic that lives within you. Namaste.